Welcome to day 4 of Chanmas. Today I am going in depth, step by step, how to create carousels on Instagram. And this is something that I actually teach often, and it's something that is going to require practice, but it's going to change the game when it comes to your carousels. And the reason that is there's this thing called scroller psychology. And I made that up, scroller psychology. But you've probably heard of like buyer psychology, all of those sort of things that help you understand the psychology, the thought process behind people making decisions. So scroller psychology would be the thought process behind someone stopping on your content to consume it or to go binge the rest of your content on your feed. And so this carousel framework that I'm getting ready to teach you, I actually taught this in Carousel Camp, which was the first group program that I launched in 2025 in January. And it's going to change the game for your carousels. Like, you're never going to question like, okay, well, what do I put on slide 2? And like, how do I wrap this up? And like, how do I make sure that this is actually making sense? And all of those things, we're going to get into that. Now, before I get into that, just a reminder of the Chanmas challenge. If you take this replay and you share it to your Instagram stories after we're live, obviously, and you tag me, don't forget to tag me or else we won't see it. We will give you a free seat to the 2025 Exposed Masterclass, where I break down all of the strategies that worked and didn't work to build a 6-figure business in 2025. So you'll get a free seat to that masterclass. All you have to do is share this to your stories and tag me. Starting tomorrow, we will get into the second half of the challenge. And what that's going to look like is whoever shares 5 of the 12 days of Chanmas. And so tomorrow is day 5, so it starts tomorrow. If you share 5, we are actually switching the rules up a little bit, and we are gifting the first 5 people who do that. You are guaranteed to get a content audit from me. And what a content audit is I'm going to go look at your most recent posts. I'm going to record a video, like a video of me looking at your posts, and I'm going to break down what's working for you in your content, what isn't working, how to get more clear on what to do, how to convert at a higher rate. All of these things will go into your content audit, and you'll get this like fully baked, customized video from me looking at what your content is doing right now. So all of the first 5 people who share 5 of these replays are going to get that content audit. After that, we'll do a drawing or we'll see how it goes. Whew. All right. So Carousel Camp framework. We're gonna dive into this Carousel Camp framework, and I'm gonna go step by step of how to set up your carousels so that you not only get people to swipe through your carousels, but you hold their attention, and then you also convert in your carousels. So people are gonna buy from you simply because of the way that your carousel is structured and the messaging that you put into this. I'm going to look at my notes over here because there's a lot of information included in this training, and I want to make sure that we stay on task. So carousels, if you don't know what those are, or if you're like, okay, I know what that is, it's like the swipe through thing that you create in your Instagram posts. The cool thing about carousels, what I've been doing with these is you can, like the whole theme of the first 4 days of Chanmas, I've been telling you about repurposing. You can repurpose your carousels on LinkedIn. Like, you can take every single slide and you can put it on LinkedIn. You can repurpose your carousels on TikTok as swipe throughs because TikTok now has the swipe through feature. You can put your carousels in a Substack blog where you just take the messaging from the carousel and you put it into a blog or a newsletter post. You can take your carousel copy or messaging and you can put it into an email to your email list. Like, all these different things you can use from just one carousel. So this is not just like one post. It's going to feel like it's a lot, but it's not just one post. You can do so much with this. And also, even if it was just one post, it's going to work wonders in your business, in your marketing strategy, and in your brand. So let's get into it. This is not just a conglomerate of pretty slides. So this is not just you like putting together, you've seen the swipe throughs of the memes where it's like you pick a ton of memes and you put them into a carousel. That's not what this is. I'm talking about a carousel where you take the messaging that you want to incorporate and you put that into different slides. Now, you can create this in Canva if you want to, or you can create it straight from Instagram if you want to. You can create it in your Instagram stories and just save the story before you post it. You can create it wherever you want. The one thing that I would be cautious of is with your carousels, you want there to be a consistent brand visual. So like right now, if you were to go to my feed, all of my carousels have the hot pink background. That's intentional. I also use the same font in every single carousel. If you were to go back a few months or so, you would see I was using a photo behind my carousels, a picture of me, and then I had like a particular way that I did my font. You get to choose what that looks like and run with it from there. So, okay, when people go to create carousels, a lot of times they think to themselves, like, I need to switch up from the reels, or I need to switch up from what I'm doing. I want to try carousels. And it's like a random approach to carousels. This is not that. This is a very intentional, organized, purposeful content strategy to incorporate carousels into what you post. So for me, for example, I like to alternate between reels and carousels, but I don't stick to that rigidly. So sometimes I'll even do like static photos in there. These are all the different modalities. You have reels, you have static photos, you have carousels, you have Instagram lives, all the things that would go on your feed. That's what I call a modality. So when you have a solid carousel framework, like when you have, when it feels like people are watching a movie or reading a book, that's what it's going to feel like. You're creating content that is like seamless for the scroller. So the scroller is going to be like, ooh, this makes sense. Like I'm intrigued, and it's happening subconsciously. Like they don't realize it's happening, but it's also going to be, there's going to come a point in this carousel framework where you get to be valuable and educational without being the person who's like, here's 3 tips on how to do this, or here's 5 hacks on 5 secrets, whatever. Like, you know, the simple educational way. We're not doing that here. This is going to position you as an authority through storytelling. You are going to subconsciously place yourself as a leader in the eyes of the scroller. And it's going to effortlessly drive people to your offers, your programs, your memberships, whatever it is that you want to lead people to. I'm going to teach you exactly how to do that. So today's training on day 4 of Chanmas is all about a carousel content strategy that is scroll stopping and conversion heavy. We want you to make sales from your carousels. All right. So if you don't have a handy dandy notebook, you probably want one, or you want to take notes in your phone somewhere where you can keep track of this, because we're going to move quickly, but we're going to go through a step-by-step breakdown of the carousel camp framework. And the way that we're going to do that is I'm going to tell you the steps, but you could also convert these in your mind to slides. So like I mentioned, a carousel has slides in it. So as I'm giving like step 1, for example, you could convert that to slide 1. The reason I'm putting this into steps is because sometimes you'll have like 2 slides for one of the steps, and you get to decide that, but at bare minimum, you will have 1 per each step. All right. Step 1, also known as slide 1. This is your opportunity to create the ultimate scroll stopping hook in front of your audience. So imagine someone goes to the explore page, or imagine they're just scrolling through, or even imagine that you've shared your carousel to your Instagram stories. This is the first slide that they're going to see. So creating a scroll stopping hook, there is nuance to it, and it's a skill. Like I really see creating hooks and creating titles as a skill that you are going to refine over time. One thing that I would not suggest is letting ChatGPT create this for you, because it's not going to get it right. So we're going to dive into one of the days of Chanmas. We're going to dive into hooks and calls to action. That's one training combined that we're going to go into. So we're not going to get into the nitty gritty of that today, but I am going to give you some tips. One thing about the scroll stopping slide, that initial slide, I create the entire carousel first before I ever create slide 1. It's like titling the book. Like you're not going to probably have a title of the book before you've written the book. And I've done this actually for speeches. Like when I speak on stage, sometimes I'll title the keynote first, and then I do the entire speech, and I'm like, that title makes no sense for the speech that I just wrote. So again, you want to create the content first, and then go back and create that initial scroll stopping hook, that first slide. So when you think about slide 1, the way that I like to conceptualize this is I pretend that my carousel is a movie, or like I said, a book, but let's just say a movie for the sake of this analogy. So your entire carousel, all the slides together, it's going to create this story. Everything that I teach is storytelling, by the way. Like you are never going to have like some rigid, boring, structured piece of content. It should all be storytelling. With that being said, you're going to have this carousel that is an entire storyline. It's a movie. So that slide 1 would not be the title of the movie. It would be the title of the trailer of the movie. Stick with me here. So you have a movie that you just created. We all watch trailers of movies and shows before we watch them. When you sit there and you experience the trailer, you are witnessing like a very dramatic glimpse of what that show or what that movie is going to feel like when you watch it. You understand the overall concept, you understand the overall plot, but you don't have all the details. However, it's purposefully very intriguing. So with your initial slide, that is what you're doing. You're creating the title of the trailer. You're creating the trailer, if you will, and you're doing it in as few words as possible. So again, it's super dramatic. It's very curiosity driven. It's leaving some things out, but it's also signaling the overall gist of what you're about to get into. So that is slide 1, and you're not going to create that until you're done. I'm just giving you the directions on what that's going to look like. Now, step 2, which would be slide 2. However, sometimes this can go into 2 slides because one thing you want to be cautious of is the visual of the carousel. I don't know about you guys, but like I'm not reading a carousel that has super tiny text and has a lot of text. Like it is a superpower to do this in as few words as possible without sacrificing specificity, without sacrificing like the juice of the story. So if you need to expand this into 2 slides, just try to put on the lens of like, if I were the scroller, would I feel overwhelmed by this slide, or is it easy enough for me to digest with as little text on the screen as possible? Okay. So in slide 2, what you're doing in slide 2 is you are creating you're setting the scene. Okay. So let's just stick with the analogy of creating a movie. In step 2, slide 2, you are setting the scene, which means you are creating this overall context as to what you're about to talk about. So when you set the scene, you are making sure that your audience understands what you're about to get into. So on this slide, you're not giving it all away, but for example, if someone were to land just on slide 2 and they did not see slide 1, they would still know what they're getting into. It's just like you're taking slide 1 and you're adding more context to it. So you're kind of setting the scene, you're preparing the scroller to understand exactly what you're going to get into. So what this could look like, let's say you have a carousel where you're talking about protein. Okay, so you're a weight loss coach and you want to teach women how to consume more protein. So you're going to create a carousel on this topic. And what you want them, the overall intention of the carousel is for them to hire you to get into your group program where you hold them accountable for things like eating more protein. Okay, so slide 2, if you were to set the context of what the carousel is going to sound like, you might say something along the lines of like, the moment that I increased my protein intake was the moment that my cellulite disappeared, was the moment that I had more energy, I felt satiated, and I actually lost weight by eating more. Okay, so see how I'm like setting the context. I'm not giving it all away. I'm not telling you how I did it. I'm not telling you how much protein I had. I'm not telling you what sources I got it from. I'm just setting the scene. You understand you're about to get into a carousel where I talk about eating more protein. You get the picture. So then someone slides to the next slide. Okay, so they're interested. You've caught their attention with slide 1. You've caught their attention with slide 2. They know what they're getting into. Step 3 is where you stand on business. Step 3 is going to most likely be slide 3. Now, in standing on business step, you want to pretend like someone just argued against whatever you put in that second slide. Whatever you put in the setting of the scene, someone just debated that or disagreed with you or had an objection. This is where it's really important for you to understand your ideal client and who you're speaking to, because for example, if I'm a weight loss coach talking about protein, my ideal client is probably not going to argue that protein is too expensive. She's going to argue that that is not the way of losing weight. The only way of losing weight is to cut calories, for example. So I know that that's the objection of my ideal client, that she's like, I've tried eating more and I actually gained weight and it was the worst advice I ever took. And you're telling me to eat more protein and I'm just going to feel bloated all the time. The only way to lose weight is to cut calories. That is her objection after she read slide 2. So my opportunity on slide 3 is to stand on business and overcome that trigger. I triggered her. Now, what I'll do here is it might sound something like very conversational. It might sound something like, I know what you're thinking. You've been conditioned to believe that the only way that you can lose weight and look your best is by eating as little as possible or cutting your calories or using MyFitnessPal or whatever it is that they have been led to believe. And again, you'll have a list of this because when you're in my world, you will understand who you're speaking to. That is one thing that I'm a nag for. So you'll understand that. Now, you'll have a list of these things that she was conditioned to believe when it comes to increasing her protein intake, and you will speak to that. So you'll say something like, I know what you're thinking. You think the only way to lose weight is by eating less, and I'm here to tell you that increasing protein can and will catalyze your weight loss quicker than anything you've ever tried before, and it'll be more sustainable. So you're coming back in the debate of the objection from slide 2. You see how this works? So this step is actually crucial. It's like crucial that you do not skip this because it's going to show that you understand your audience, you understand your ideal client. They're going to think you're like you're planted in her brain. She's going to literally be looking around like, are you in my head? Like, what the heck? Like, how do you know everything that I'm thinking? That is this strategy is brilliant for that. And you want people to feel that way because when they feel seen by you, they trust you, they like you, and they want to buy from you. All right, moving into step 4, slide 4, step 4. Now that you have set the scene, you've combated or overcome the objection, now it's your opportunity to teach, to provide value, to educate, to coach for free. For free. This is like, yes, you're going to give it all away because here's the thing. They can find all this information on YouTube anyway, on Google. They don't, like, you're not the keeper of all the information. And if you think that you are, we need to talk about your ego because that is not what this is. You're going to teach and educate and give things away for free because when people are going to get quick wins just from your content alone, they're going to think to themselves, if she's giving this away in her content, what is she doing when I pay her? Like, she's going to give me she's going to literally lead me to the gold. And that is the goal. Now, there's also, when we talked about this in day 1 during Chit Chat Reels, your ability to simplify what you're teaching, to break it down step by step without overwhelming people in this one piece of content is something that you're going to also have to refine over time. And this is going to require you to put yourself out there and look back at your content and think to yourself, how can I make this even more simple for the consumer, for the scroller? And that's going to come with time, but just know that is the goal, is to be micro specific in the quick win that you're providing and whatever lesson it is that you're teaching. So the way that you would do this for the example that we're using with increasing your protein, you might say something like, here's how you're going to gauge how much protein you need to have. You're going to go step on the scale and you're going to weigh yourself in pounds. Step 2 is you're going to take what you currently weigh and take away 20 pounds. If you want to lose 20 pounds, subtract 20 pounds, subtract 15 pounds, whatever it is that you want to lose. That becomes your goal weight. With your goal weight, now, let's say it's 160. We want to get your protein level up to 160 grams, 1 gram per goal pound per day. 160 grams of protein per day. That's a lot. But if that's your goal and you're 200 pounds right now, we're going to get you there by consuming, literally this is all that you're going to have to do. And so you're giving them the quick win on that next slide where they have this opportunity to act on this immediately. So now you've given them this quick win. They walk away and they're like, oh, wow, I didn't realize it was that simple. And then you cement this in, your effort to provide value with proof. So the next slide, step 5, you are going to add social proof or a testimonial slide where you're going to say, and again, if you're waiting on client results, if you're just starting this journey in your brand and you don't have client results yet, this is your opportunity to use your own testimonial because your own journey, your own testimony, your own results sometimes are more powerful than your client results. And you're going to always tell the story. So get used to it and just start repeating yourself. Now, with social proof, You're going to make sure that the social proof story that you're using is directly tied to the education that you just taught. So you just taught someone to go step on the scale. You taught them to calculate their goal weight. You taught them to calculate how much protein they should be getting in grams. Now, on the next slide, you're going to tell the story about how client Jessica came to me and she was so frustrated with being in menopause and not being able to lose weight the way that she used to in her adolescence. And the moment that we declared her protein goal and she got to eating her protein, within month 1, she dropped 3 inches from her waist. Okay, so you're gonna cement in the fact that this is the way to go. This is the education you just gave is the answer. And that is going to be step 5. Now, if you were doing this again from first person, because you're like, I don't have client Jessica yet, then that's totally okay. You're going to say, the moment that I calculated my goal weight and I calculated my protein and I got to work and I started meal prepping and including these things, I dropped X amount of pounds by 60 days in, or whatever you want to say. Again, that's just you using your own story as versus like using a client testimonial. All right, now we're on step 6. This is the final slide. You're going to use a very direct call to action. And the direct call to action is just that. Like if we could just take a moment to break down the phrase call to action. You're calling them to do something, to take action on something. So don't miss this opportunity. Now, this can look different depending on what the goal is. If you have a program where you actually walk women through, like this analogy, for example, you walk them and you hold them accountable to increasing their protein and losing weight because they're eating more, then this is your opportunity to drop details about the program. And the way that you're going to do that is I would definitely strongly suggest like you have a graphic. So I use Canva for my graphics and I create a YouTube thumbnail sizing for all of my graphics. I actually do my own graphics. I don't hire anyone to do this. I'm very particular, but you don't have to overdo your graphics. You can hire someone or you can just like keep it simple. You want to have like a through point of colors and brands, but it doesn't have to be a big deal. Anyway, you'll have a graphic for the program. And let's say the program is called, I don't know, protein to pounds. I don't know, like thinking like protein power. Let's call it protein power. And you have a graphic that says protein power. And then underneath it is a little tagline. It's like, lose 10 pounds in 60 days by eating more protein. And then it's like 4-week program, whatever you want to say. So you'll drop that graphic on this final slide. And then underneath it, you might add some text that says, comment the word protein and I'll send you the registration link. Comment the word protein and I'll DM you the application. Comment the word protein and I'll send you the information. We begin on X date. So again, I'm very direct. I'm giving a call to action. Comment this word and I will send you specific thing that I'm going to send them. Or I'm saying DM me the word protein and we'll have a conversation to see if this is the right program for you according to your goals. So again, I'm telling them exactly what they're getting by taking that call to action, by taking the action that I'm calling them to take. All right. And then that's really it. So just in closing, let's just wrap this up. You have your initial slide, which is your title of your trailer. That is the scroll stopping slide. Again, as few words as possible and very punchy, very dramatic, very curiosity driven, but also like paints the picture of what you're about to get into. Like don't be too cryptic or else you'll lose people. Also, I love to talk about hooks also accomplishing the goal of like what's in it for the scroller. So if you're creating a hook, whether that's like on your reels or maybe it's a subject line for your email, it's a title of your blog or whatever. If it's the first slide of your carousel, you want this to accomplish the goal of the scroller understanding like what's in it for me if I go through this carousel. What am I going to get from this? And you can do that in various different ways. So we can talk about that another time. Slide 1, scroll stopping hook. Slide 2 to 3, your context, you're setting the scene. Step 3, slide 3, you're overcoming that trigger. You're debating whatever they were an objection to on slide 2. The next step, you are educating or you are coaching to a micro-specific shift. So something that they can take action on right now or shift their perspective on something. The next slide, you are adding a story, a brief one, of like a proof or testimonial from the education you just gave in the prior slide. Remember, those two are linked. This isn't just like a random, oh, I help everybody in the world type thing. Very specific. And then the final slide is your call to action. Whew, that is Carousel Camp in 25 minutes. That's crazy. Now, when done correctly, your carousel is not only going to educate, but it's also going to build trust. It's going to position you as the leader. They're gonna be like, this girl knows what she's talking about. You're also going to naturally take the scroller on to the next step with you by doing that call to action. Now, let's just talk about the caption briefly before we wrap this up. Remember from the day 1 training of Chanmas, your carousel, especially with this framework that we're using, it's going to have a lot of text in it. It's going to be very heavy in the messaging. So your caption is going to balance that out. You do not want to have a super long caption. However, your caption, if it were to stand by itself, like it's standing alone, it does like give a depiction of what you talked about in the carousel. So you want to paraphrase in the caption. You still have maybe you go through all of those parts of the framework, but you do it very briefly, very high level, and you still have that call to action at the end of the caption. Okay, so that is a wrap. Make sure that you also you want to add music to your carousels. You want to create a vibe. If you do not have a solid community, I would not suggest not using a photo of yourself behind the carousel. If you have a built-in community, then you can play around with different branding. But as you're building and ramping up your brand, you want your face to be behind everything you do. So you are the brand, you are the personal brand. And so if you're creating a carousel and you only use, right now I'm only using a pink background. I have a community though. I've been doing this for years. If you were to just start from zero with a pink background, you're going to miss out on an opportunity for people to connect with the human behind the brand. And that's really what you want to do. You want to develop that recognition that you are the brand. So you is a picture of you, and it doesn't have to be professional. Maybe it's pictures you're using from, I don't know, when you went out to coffee with your friend, whatever. Have them take pictures of you in certain situations. All right, I think that's it for day 4 of Chanmas. I feel like we're going through these. It's going really fast. Tomorrow is day 5. I'm really excited for tomorrow's topic. I was just looking at what that was. Tomorrow we're going to talk about how to sell on your Instagram stories using my signature Slay and Sell method. That's huge. We're going to dive into, that's a big one, and that's going to change your life. So all of these are so fun. I hope that you're taking a lot from the 12 days of Chanmas so far. Don't forget about the challenge, enter the challenge. And there's already so many of you signed up for the 2025 Exposed Masterclass just because you shared to your Instagram stories. And that masterclass is also going to be the perfect chef's kiss in addition to what you're learning in these 12 days. You're going to love it. Whew. All right. With that being said, I hope you have a great night. I will see you tomorrow for day 5 of Chanmas. Mwah.